Hello my dear students in 4th primary, how are you? In the previous lesson في الدرس اللي فات جمعنا a lot of data about our class like the mode of transportation we use to get to school or the number of siblings عدد إخوات اللي عندنا. Also the data on our favorite colors. وعملنا organization لكل الداتا دي into tables. In today's lesson 5 graphing the class هنتعلم النهارده how to represent the data اللي احنا جمعناها وكمان how to ask and answer questions based on the data. محدش ينسى يحضر البوك بتاعه والبنسل والجراف بيبر وكمان البنز بتاعنا. We have already learned عرفنا ايه هو اللاين بلوت وازاي نرسمه. دلوقتي هنراجع مع بعض in the activity titled Plot It Out in Access Part on page 134. Let's see it all together. Okay, here in Access Part عندنا set of fraction data زي ما احنا شايفين كده وعندنا number line drawn but it is not scaled. And now I'll give you time to think of the scale that we can use. ايه السكيل المناسب اللي احنا هنستخدمه to represent this data on the number line وكمان فكروا of what this data can represent in our lives. When we are back, we will discuss the answers all together and we will also draw a line plot together. And now when I asked the students in my class لما سألت students بتوعي about what the data could represent يعني الداتا دي ممكن تكون بتمثل ايه؟ أول حاجة قالوها إن لاحظوا كلهم that we have mixed fractions in kilometers وفي some of my students قالوا إن الداتا دي ممكن تكون بتمثل the distance between the students' houses and the school. في students تانيين قالوا ممكن تكون بتمثل ال distance that some students run in a football match. And all of these وكمان many other situations اللي انتوا بتفكروا فيها they are correct. Now in order to draw the line plot we need to define مطلوب مننا نحدد السكيل بتاعنا اللي احنا هنعمله على النمبر لاين. أنا متأكدة إن انتوا كلكم لاحظين that the written numbers are mixed fractions زي ما احنا شايفين كده. Now let's draw it all together. طيب هنلاقي في الفراكشنز اللي عندنا في البوك ان احنا عندنا هافز زي ايه مثلا زي 1 and half وكمان عندنا 3 and half وعندنا fourths زي for example 2 and 3 fourths. The numbers on the scale could increase every half ممكن اعمل moving by half او moving by fourth ليه to match the numbers we have. طيب لكن في البلوت بتاعنا we will divide it into fourths and not half. Why? Because to make it easier to represent. طيب if I make it half لو عملتهم divided by half هيبقى في data I cannot represent it. مثلا when we have 2 and 3 fourths I cannot represent it. And now let's draw the line plot all together. Okay. طيب قبل ما نرسم اللاين بلوت محتاجين ان احنا نحدد ايه النمبر لاين هيبتدي من ايه وهينتهي لايه. In this problem we will look at the smallest هبص الأصغر number عندي وأكبر number عندي. The smallest number we have is 1 يبقى هو 1 ده اللي هبدأ بيه. So I will write here 1. Okay. طيب and that is what I began. أو النمبر اللي أنا ابتديت بيه هو ال smallest number. The greatest number is 3 and 3 fourths. ده معناه ان النمبر لاين اخر نمبر هكتبه فيه هيبقى الهول نمبر اللي بعد على طول 3 and 3 fourths which is 4. Okay, so the last one will be 4. طيب then what should I do? Now we need to a key for drawing which is x. الكي بتاعنا هيبقى x. Okay, طب انا عايز اعرف الاكس ده represent what? الاكس it represent only 1. Because we don't have many numbers. Okay, so it could be possible that every x can have just one frequency. يبقى هكتب x equals 1 frequency. ليه 1 frequency؟ عشان I don't have many numbers. Okay? Now we will draw a number line and like we said before I will start with 1, then we will add 1/4. هنعمل moving by 1/4. So I will draw 1, then 1/4, and 1 and 2/4, right? 1 and 1/4, then 1 and 2/4, then 1 and 3/4, right? Then 2 and 2/4, 2, 2/4, 2, 3/4, and 3, 3 and 1/4, 3, 2/4, 3 and 3/4, and then 4. So I write 4 here. And this will be the last number I have in the line plot. Okay, then what should we do? احنا كده رسمنا كل line plot from 1 till I reach 4. Now let's add the marks for each number اللي هو ال x for each number. طب هنلاحظ ايه؟ هنلاحظ ان ال 1 repeated only one time. يبقى هاجي عند ال 1 وهكتب 1x. Okay? Okay. 1 and 2/4 repeated once also. 1 and 2/4 repeated once also. يبقى هعمل 1x. So then 2 and 2/4 repeated twice. 2 and 2/4 repeated twice. So I'll put x and another 1. And then, however, 2 and 3/4, 2 and 3/4 repeated 3 times. 2 and 3/4 repeated 3 times. So I'll put 1, 2, 3. Okay? Okay, so add 3 x's as I did. Here, 3 is repeated how many times? Look, it is repeated twice. So 3 repeated twice. I'll put x and another x. And then 3 and 2/4 repeated twice. 3 and 2/4 repeated twice. So I'll put x and another x. What else? Yes, then 3 and 3/4 repeated only once. So I will go to 3 and 3/4 and I will put only 1x. Now we are done with the line plot. خلاص احنا رسمنا كده اللاين بلوت بتاعنا وحطينا الماركس بتاعتنا. In the previous lessons اتعلمنا that there are elements that graphs are made of. يعني في elements الجراف بيتكون منها. ده بيساعدنا كويس قوي to understand the graphs. We will discuss these elements together in build part on page 134. Let's see it all together. Okay, here in the build part زي ما احنا شايفين كده في البيلد بارت مطلوب مننا ان احنا نحدد او نكتب 4 main elements in the graph. I'll give you now enough time to think, and when we get back we will see what you wrote. And now I am sure أنا متأكدة إن أنتوا فكرتوا في many elements in the various أو different types of graphs. Let's write 4 of them only to answer the question. طيب الفيرست element اللي أنتوا فكرتوا فيها إيه؟ Yes, we will write it is the title. أهم element عندي أو one of the elements is the title of the graph. يبقى I will write number 1 the title of the graph. Okay? طيب we will also write the labels for each axis. مش كل x كان بيبقى فيه label ال vertical x and the horizontal x. يبقى number 2 are the labels. Okay. Now, what about the third element? Yes, I can write the key, right, to the graph. So, the third one is the key. Can you tell me another element? Yes, في element of the scale. The scale is very important, which is accurately marked. يبقى number 4 is the scale. السكيل بحدده ازاي؟ من خلال النمبرز اللي عندي. Now there are many other elements. طبعا في elements كتير تانية you could write here. Okay? In graphs there are two important things. في الجراف في حاجتين مهمين قوي لازم تاخدوا بالكم منها. أول حاجة is that the graphs should be very clear and readable. يعني إيه؟ يعني يبقى واضح كده قدامي. The second thing is that the graph should be drawn. لازم نرسمه carefully and accurately. لازم نرسمه بدقة جدا. ده هيساعدنا when we are analyzing the data further on. The information we recorded now is considered a checklist when we can use when answering the problems. In the previous lesson في الدرس اللي فات in the activity titled Classy Graphs we are asked كان مطلوب منكم to collect data تجمعوا data من الفريندز بتوعكم in the class وكمان نستخدمها to complete the tables. I asked you to share the data قلت لكم to share the data you collected on مدرستنا's Facebook page and I got على فكرة أنا جالي responses كتيرة قوي. أنا بجد عايزة أشكركم جدا إن أنتوا عملتوا sharing this with us. Now we will represent one of these tables together using graphs in the activity Create Questions on page 135. The table is about the mode of transportation we use to get to school. One of your friends sent us بعت لنا table of data we have. This is the data that was collected, the data دي collected from his friends about the mode of transportation we used to get to school. Here is the data. Okay, now I'll give you enough time to think of a graph that suits the data we have collected. وكمان I want you to think of 2 questions you can find their answers. تقدروا تلاقوا الانسرز من الجراف بتاعنا. When we get back, we will draw the suitable graph, الجراف المناسب together. When I showed my students لما وريت الستودنتس بتوعي الداتا دي قرروا ان البار جراف was the most suitable graph. قالوا لي يا ميس احنا انسب جراف نستخدمه هو البار جراف. Let's draw it together on the board. طيب دلوقتي first we will draw the horizontal axis then write on it the mode of transportation in order in the table. يبقى أول حاجة هرسمها ال horizontal axis زي ما هنعمله كده مع بعض. And this is the horizontal axis we have. هنكتب عليه ال mode of transportation. And now the second step I will draw the vertical axis and we will write the numbers from 0 to the greatest number we have which is 10. تعالوا كده نرسم ال vertical axis وهنكتب numbers from 0 to 10. طيب. Okay, now then we will draw the bars in order. First we have the number of students who go to school by bus and that's 10. يبقى I will write the first one here. I will write bus. Okay. How many students? They are 10. Then the number of students who go to school. But first let's draw the first one. طيب. How can I write the scale? I will write the scale from 0 to 10. يبقى here is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So make it like this. طيب يبقى we said the number of students go by bus are 10, so I will make bar until I reach 10. As you see here, 10, and I will close it like this. Okay. Here are the number of students going by bus. تعالوا نشوف the second one. The number of students who go to school on foot is 7. So I will write here foot and I will go to 7 and stop at 7. Here is the second bar I have. And then we will draw a bar that stopped at 7 as you see here. Now we can also draw a graph in your notebooks to represent the data you collected from your friends. And look here, you must leave the same spaces between each graph and the other. Okay, now the questions we can answer from the graph are many questions. ممكن نسأل مثلا what is the most common mode of transportation for students to use to get to school. وكمان ممكن نسأل سؤال تاني what is the difference between the number of students that go to school اللي بيروح السكول مشي and those that go to school by car. After writing the questions you thought of, I want you to share them with a friend in Connect part on page 135. Let's go and see it. Okay, and now in Connect part as you see here, دلوقتي لو عندك وقت على فكرة ممكن تسألوا more than one friend. When you are done, I want each of you, عايزة كل واحد فيكم يفكر ايه ال easiest part of drawing أو reading الجرافس وايه كان أصعب حاجة قابلها. You can share your responses on مدرستنا's page on Facebook in the comment section of the lesson so that I can help you. Now you can head to the practice part and check your understanding by scanning the code found at the start of the lesson on page 134 or the one shown on the screen, which will direct you to the digital copy of your math textbook on the Egyptian Knowledge Bank. In the practice problem, we have a table of data of the number of hours. تعالوا كده نشوفه مع بعض. Okay, now here in the practice problem عندنا table of data of the number of hours studying students spend sleeping per day. مطلوب مننا to represent the data in front of us using a line plot. Then write 4 sentences or statements. First تعالوا نرسم a number line. Like you see here, I already drew the number line and I identify where the number line should begin and end. In our problem, we will begin with number 6 as you see here. Draw it with me, and the end of the last number will be 10. Why? Because 6 is the smaller number and 10 is the greatest number. Okay, now let's also identify the scale or the increasement أو الانكريز اللي احنا هيزيد بيه، يعني moving by half ولا moving by quarter and so on. I can say that we need to add 1/2 each time. Why? Because here, like you see here, it is 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5 and so on. So زي ما احنا شايفين كده I start with 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9, 9.5 and 10. اوكي وناخد بالنا ان لازم نسيب the same space. وبعدين هنحدد الكي بتاعنا او الاكس. الاكس هنا represent the frequency of the slept hours. يبقى هكتب كده x equals frequency of the slept hours. وده الكي بتاعنا. اوكي. And now let's mark on the number line together. هي 6 اتعادت كم مرة؟ Look 6 0 يبقى it doesn't repeated يبقى مش هعمل عليها أي mark. And 6.5 repeated 2 times. 6.5 repeated 2 times يبقى هاجي عن 6.5 وهعمل 2x. Okay? Then 7 is repeated how many times? 7 repeated 4 times يبقى هروح عند 7 وهعمل 4x. 1 2, 3, and 4. What about 7.5? Look, it is repeated 4 times, so I will put 4x. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then what about 8? Repeated 7 times, so I'll put 7x. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Then what about 8.5? It is repeated 8 times, right? Okay, so I will write 8 x's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? طيب and the last one is repeated 3 times. Here, 10 is repeated what? 3 times. 1, 2, and 3, right? Okay, after drawing the number line, we are asked to analyze the data we have and write 4 statements. Now we could write something like this. ممكن نكتب إيه مثلاً؟ ممكن نكتب the number of students who sleep for 7 hours. تعالوا نكتب كده. The number of students sleep for 7 hours is what? Yes, it is less than the number of students who sleep for 8 hours. Less than the number of students sleep for 8 hours. اوكي؟ طيب عرفت الكلام ده منين؟ من اللاين بلوت. ممكن نكتب حاجة كمان. The number of students who sleep for 8 hours and 9 hours is the same. The number of students sleep for 8 hours equals to the number of students sleep 9 hours. Okay. طيب ممكن كمان نكتب the number of students that sleep for 10 hours is 3 students only. You can write many other statements for the data found in your graphs. You can also think of questions from the graph. ممكن نفكر كده نكتب ايه الquestion والanswer بتاعي يبقى من الجراف. After drawing many types of graphs, let's watch the challenge video we have. We will get to know new types. هنتعرف بقى دلوقتي على new types of graphs that we will learn about in the future.
Chicks.
Here is an egg a chicken has laid. It's about to hatch. Let's watch for a little while. At week 1, the chick is fluffy and moving around. It weighs just 180 grams. That's about the weight of your favorite chocolate bar. Here is some information about the chicks. Let's plot the weight of the chick as a line graph.
I'm not sure what that looks like. I'd rather draw a bar chart.
A line graph is used when the information you have is connected and changes over time. For example, the height of a plant as it grows over several days. A bar chart wouldn't be the best option because a bar chart usually shows several bars, each bar for a different item. Can you think of some more examples of a line graph for me?
How much TV I watch in hours in a week.
How many steps I walk each day.
I'm not sure what a line graph looks like or how to make one.
Don't worry. Let's plot the first 3 weights for the chick using our human line graph. I'm going to use these sticky notes to label our vertical and horizontal axis. Each of you hold a threaded ball and position it using the labels on the wall and on the floor. Can you work out where the first point should go on our line graph? The weight you are trying to represent is 180 grams. Look at the vertical or y-axis to help you. That's great! Now you two can plot 460 grams with the second ball and 940 grams with the third ball. Fantastic! You've plotted the first 3 weeks. Now you know how a line graph works and what it looks like. We can plot weeks 4, 5, and 6 for the chick.
We must be careful plotting the next 3 weeks.
The weights are in grams for weeks 1 to 3 and kilograms for weeks 4 to 6.
It might be easier to convert all the weights to grams.
Using a pencil, paper, and ruler, can you draw the line graph using all the data on your tablet? What will the chart look like? What scale will you use?
In this video, we are introduced اتعرفنا على حاجة اسمها the line graph. فاكرين احنا ايه الجرافز اصلا اللي خدناها؟ خدنا البار جراف والدبل بار جراف واللاين بلوت. الحاجة الجديدة هي line graph. So we will add it to the types of graphs اللي احنا اتعلمناها before. This was the last thing we learned today. This lesson was the last one in Unit 11. تعلمنا النهاردة how to find the difference between different types of graphs، وكمان اتعلمنا that data is what determines الداتا هي اللي بتحدد لي التايب of graph اللي أنا هستخدمه. وكمان عملنا practice representing data using bar graphs and line plots whether the data was in whole numbers أو in fractions. كمان اتعلمنا how to read the data and analyze it and how to ask questions related للgraphs بتاعتنا. I hope you have enjoyed this lesson with me so much. Thank you, and I'll see you next lesson in the first lesson in Unit 12.